All right, good to see everybody. Appreciate you being here. Let's go O's. Let's go. Can't wait for that game tomorrow afternoon at Camden Yards. Got to be honest, I probably won't be watching it, but be monitoring it very closely. So support those guys. We're excited for them and can't wait to see them go get after it in the playoffs. Excited about our win last night. As you look at it, we did many good things and things that we improved on. We're building. I think we're growing as a football team. We're kind of in that building phase still, trying to stack practices and good plays every day and improvement. But yet we have so many things that we can get better at, that we need to get better at, so many things that you like to have back from the game and do better, that we'll try our best to learn from. And we will learn from them just like we have in the past games before this. So that's what we're working on right now, trying to put all that stuff together so we can get our guys in here and have a great week of practice and get ready for the Bengals. What questions do you have?
John, Derrick Henry again had another massive game. There was a lot of questions with him being 30 years old and the track record for running back today. Why do you think he is still being so productive at this age when a lot of running backs just aren't?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm sure it's different for every single person, but there's a lot of things about Derrick that make him unique. Talent is one of them for sure, and work ethic is another one for sure. He's a very just tough human being for sure. But the proof is in the results, and you kind of go by what you see. So when we're evaluating the possibility of bringing him in here, I think we just looked at how he's been playing, and to see that continue on obviously is great. But we did expect him to play this way, and we're excited about it.
You started the season with 2 losses, 2 wins. You talk about staying even-keeled. It's a marathon, a season. How do you get your players? The players can be a little more emotional than coaches. How do you get them to buy into that sort of that philosophy and that strategy?
Yeah, the players are pros too. And I think at this level, I think there's a real collaboration between coaches and players, especially nowadays, and in the NFL. These are grown men. These are guys that are professionals. They take their careers very seriously. It means a lot to them, and they understand how the season works. We'll let the players, we do wise words, and the players talk to the team. We have different captains every week. They talk to the guys. They say brilliant things. They say things that are spot on. And we have that kind of leadership, that kind of a culture where it's kind of grown from within, nurtured from within. Those are the guys that set the tone. That's what you want.
Voorhees obviously was at your. What went into the decision to give Patrick the start there, and why do you think that worked so well with him? with him at left guard and Rodgers starting at right guard, both making the first start.
Right. Well, that move made a lot of sense. I think we all definitely agreed on it. Not that the other guys couldn't have played in there; they could have. And I'll say this about like Ben, for instance, he's been practicing very well. So when Ben gets his chance, he's going to play very well. But Patrick's such an experienced guy, and he's played all the positions, although left guard, I think I read, was 10 snaps in the past, so that was a good stat you guys pulled up. He's practiced a lot at all the positions over the years, and he's just a guy that's his kind of superpower. That's his trait, that he can do so many different things so well. And, as we go forward, we'll see how Andrew's ankle is and all that, but Pat can continue to do it, and he's only going to get better if he gets more reps there. And obviously, Roger, the guy that's been coming on, he's a high draft pick. He's a guy we have a lot of expectations for, and he didn't do anything in that game to dampen that down at all. So I think you just kind of take it as it comes every single week, and try to put the best group out there you can with the best next guys playing, and have everybody ready so when need arises, that you can put a player in there that's ready to help you win.
That whole back-to-back timeout scenario that occurred in the second half, now that you've gone back and looked at it, any thoughts on how that went down, and maybe or was that just something that was a game operation thing that just went the wrong way?
That was not good. I mean, that was one I want back. There's a lot of reasons stuff happens in a game, and there's a lot of things that happen, but now I want that one back. That was bad. Felt bad about it at the time. Still feel bad about it. Going to feel bad about it next year, and 10 years from now, I'm going to hate it still. So it's just a bad sequence for us, for me especially.
John,
Nate Wiggins had some tough moments in the game the week before, but you had him out there almost every. Nate Wiggins had some tough moments the week before, but you had him out there for almost every defensive snap right away yesterday. I mean, what gave you the faith that he would handle that as well as he did?
Yeah, I mean, that's growth, just a growth guy, growth mindset, and we trust our guys to learn and grow, and gave him an opportunity to go out there and do it again. And he's been practicing really well. And, I mean, he and I had numerous conversations. He and Chris had numerous conversations, just natural part of football, and he listens and practiced well last week and went out and played well.
If you look at a lot of the big Henry runs or any big offensive plays over the last couple of weeks, you usually find a tight end, a fullback, or a wide receiver blocking on the perimeter or making a play downfield. What about how selfless kind of some of those guys have been? That, Mark Andrews hasn't had a catch in 2 weeks, and Flowers didn't have his normal, numbers yesterday, but just how kind of people are buying into that.
I mean, football is a team sport. It's the ultimate team sport. And when you got a bunch of players who are team players, team guys, I think you have a chance to be a good team. And that's what we have. So as we've said before, it's, if Derrick or the running game doesn't quite get going from a stat-wise, the questions are always going to be, what about the running game? The running game gets going, and the questions are always going to be, what about this player, that player is not getting targeted, or you're not throwing the ball that much, or the passing yards aren't up, or whatever. I mean, it's part and parcel. We understand that. And the answer is always that, the whole is greater than the parts, and the parts make the whole. And those guys get it. I mean, they're contributing in a big way. Mark Andrews is going to definitely have big games here catching the ball. Isaiah is going to have big games catching the ball. All those guys are. We're going to have a big passing game coming up here at some point in time soon. It's hard to predict when it's going to be because the games go where they go and the ball goes where it goes, and it's just a competitive deal. But, my point is that the reason we ran the ball so well is because everybody was bought into the play that was being run in that moment and executed it so well. Mark had some phenomenal blocks out there. I mean, some dominant blocks. So did Isaiah. So did Bate. So did Zay. Zay's in there crack blocking. And he's, him and Tylen are crack blocking defensive ends in there. That's what makes gives you a chance to be successful. And when those guys are running routes and catching the ball, people will be blocking for them as well.
John, and I know you kind of explained it there, but with specifically Mark, because there's a level of production that everyone kind of expects, and go back-to-back games without a catch. Yeah. Is that something that you will talk to the player to make sure everything's okay, or how do you kind of handle that?
I could probably try to talk to Mark to make sure everything's okay, but he would just look at me like, "What are you talking to me about? Everything's fine, everything's good." Guys are competitive. I mean, everybody wants to be the difference because they know they're great players. Mark Andrews is a great player. All those guys are special in their own way. But Mark is a star. There's no doubt about it. And the fact that we're doing well on offense and as a team, and that part hasn't been expressing itself in the last 2 weeks, gets me kind of excited because that's another weapon that we have that's going to happen. So it's just part of the versatility of the offense, which is really important.
I remember last year when you signed Kyle Van Noy, you said you played against him when he was with the Patriots a lot of times. Got a lot of good things to say about him. Kind of like the Henry question. As a coach, when you watch him now, why do you think he is excelling so well at the age that he is?
Well, he'll tell you that he's young. I mean, every time you talk to him, he'll tell you. You guys know. He'll tell you, I'm young. I'm young. And he's certainly playing young, but. He's also playing crafty. He's playing like a vet. He's smart. He's in the right place. The thing that I'm impressed with, and this is not just him, this is the whole defense. And I think the coaches, and led by Zach, have done a great job of emphasizing this, but he's playing so hard. I mean, you see him, he's chasing Josh Allen out to the defensive left side and forcing him to make a decision as quick as possible. All those guys doing that, him turning and running down the screen passes. Pretty impressive.
Last night, Namdi had just great things to say about the way that Zach Orr called the game. I guess a month in, what have you seen from his development in that role as a player?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. I thought both coordinators were really on point, have been on point, but it really showed up in this game. In defense, it really showed up. Zach has been, and the coaches. I mean, all the coaches together have a great collaboration, but I think they put together a great game plan. I think Zach really called the game really well. He kept them off balance. There was a nice mix of coverage, of different various kinds of pressures. I mean, there's a lot of pressures, but there are various types of pressures. You know, there were 4-man blitzes, there were 5-man type of pressures. There were different coverages and different coverage rotations behind the blitzes, and you kind of call them at the right time. And I don't think you don't want to have an offense have a bead necessarily on where you're going next, and he did a really good job of that. And I would say the same thing about Todd and the offensive coaches. They were moving around different places. It helps to have some success, you know, when you can kind of get some plays and get some reps and get some first downs. You know, then you have a chance to call more stuff. So, and I thought they did a great job of it, both Todd and Zach.
John, going back to what you were saying about Kyle Van Noy, given his age, is that something you think you'll have to sort of manage as you get deeper into the season in terms of snap counts and workload and that sort of thing?
I think we'll keep an eye on it for sure, you know, and probably as much as anything, you look at practice. You know, I mean, Kyle's not going to be a guy that's going to need as many reps of practice as a younger guy might or will. So we'll definitely manage that, and then we'll see in the game. You know, it's not – I mean, I think any player, you know, there's kind of an ideal number of reps. You know, you get gassed out there. So you definitely want to keep your guys as fresh as possible, even in game. But, yeah, we'll definitely be looking at that.
Coach, conventional thought is running backs are usually best on their first contract, right? Justice Hill's now playing really good football on his third contract now. How have you seen him progress as a player? Justice Hill?
Oh, Justice. Yeah, third contract, but I mean, you know, it's not, I mean, he got a couple pretty quick ones. I mean, how old is he? What year is he in the league? Six. I mean, it's not like, okay, right? Yeah. He's not 30 years old, right. But that's still young, though, if you ask Kyle, to be clear.
But how have you seen him, like, grow? I mean, it seems like he's playing his best football now. How has he improved as a player?
He has improved as a player. I mean, you're exactly right about that. He was a good player coming in. He was a kind of a speed, kind of a back, you know, and you saw him as a third down back. But he's just a guy, I mean, we said it before about him. Nothing gets this guy down. I mean, there's nothing that can break him. He just keeps coming in, and he's got a smile on his face, and he works hard. He's a really smart person, understands the game, understands the entire offense. You could probably line him up at every position, and he'd know what to do, for sure. And every skill position, at least. He probably knows the blocking schemes, too. I just think he's that kind of a guy. And then just to see him, like, even through special teams. Here's a guy that, if we put him out there on special teams right now, and we probably will at some point when we need him, he'll play great on special teams, too. He just does everything you ask him to do, he does well.
Buffalo had been just lights out against man-to-man coverage coming into this game. You guys really were able to be pretty effective. I guess, what does it say about your guys' ability to hold up man-to-man? I think maybe at a higher rate than just in terms of like how often you kind of call it coverage, and especially with the development of guys like Wiggins, you know, Kyle moving forward over the season.
That's a good point. I really felt like we were going to be a really good man cover team going into the season, and to see it come to fruition here as we go, especially in this game, because they had done really well against man. I mean, the crossing routes, they were really hurting people with the crossing routes. Josh is so accurate throwing those things in there. Our guys were on them, you know, and there was a couple contested catches. I mean, everything was contested really, except the scramble play late. We were contesting everything, and we were close, you know. And even some of the plays they made, some of the back shoulder throws, those are contested, just really great plays on their part. You got to give them credit for making those plays to Coleman over there on the left side. So I thought Brandon was really good. I thought Nate really made the things that he needed to do better from one week to the next. He did them. He fixed them. Marlon was all over people out there. Our safeties cover well. It's good to feel like you can have confidence in playing man coverage.
Related to that, Arthur Milletta is eligible to come back this week. Do you anticipate him practicing as soon as this week?
I do. He should practice this week, and then we'll see, you know, where he's at physically and roster-wise and all those kind of things.
What's the teaching point, if any, on the scramble play that Allen completed? I mean, obviously a tremendous athletic play that he makes on the sideline, but what would you teach coming out of that?
Yeah, you know, we had that very discussion this morning, and the thing about scramble plays are we have what we call plaster rules that we teach, and I think we're great at them, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at us over the last 10, 12 years, this has been something that we've really kind of gotten good at because we've had to. You know, you look back to Ben Roethlisberger, okay? That's where it started for us. I mean, if you didn't try to you couldn't keep Ben in the pocket. You tried to, and then you better plaster those guys because that's how they won games. And we developed our plaster rules then. So I think we have a good handle on it. But they're not hard fast because no two scrambles are the same. I think the Bills were 20% of their plays were scramble plays. So that's their most called play, their most run play. It's not their most called play, it's their most run play, right? 20%, that's 1 out of 5 plays are plays that comes up in. So you have to be on point. And every one of them is different because you can't predict what a receiver is going to do. They have their rules. We know what their rules are because we study them on tape and break them down. And one of their rules is to go deep, you know. So you have to, the situation is the person going deep plastered, or is he a guy that's going to be taken up by the deepest player? So the rules are, if you're a deep player, you know, you stay as deep as the deepest receiver. If you're a zone player, you have somebody in your zone, you turn it into man and you plaster them, and then you stick tight and have your eyes on your luggage. So that kind of fell between the cracks there, I think, in terms of just the way the play played out. So we'll look at it on tape, we'll talk to the guys, and I'm confident that we'll do a good job going forward. But it's hard to say for all the scramble plays you're going to have over the course of the next season. You're going to be perfect on all of them. I also think you got to give them credit. I mean, Josh Allen is going full speed to his right. You know, somehow off his back foot, puts a foot in the ground, throws the ball 50 yards across his body downfield. It's just a really amazing play by a great player too. So, you know, we want to be on that play. We want to be defending that play. For sure, we'll coach it. We'll coach it. And it's all our guys are thinking about right now after the game, I promise you. That's the one play they're thinking about. But I got to give Josh Allen a lot of credit on that play too.
What can you say about Ronnie Stanley from being the anchor at left tackle, kind of helping to lead a younger group with the offensive line, and just his play both in the passing game and his effectiveness when you're running off that left side? Yeah,
Ronnie Stanley deserves so much credit. I mean, he's really having a good year, and he's got a lot of football left in him, and I expect him to keep improving. I think he's going to keep on the rise. I think he's really his level of play has just been going like this, you know. It's fun to see both run and pass. A lot of times he was singled up out there in pass protection and just did a really good job. And like you said, in the run game, reach blocks, down blocks, had some good cutoff blocks, screen blocks, had a couple really good screen blocks that sprung some screens. So, yeah, it was good.
Obviously, momentum after a win like Sunday nights is, you know, pretty high, but going into an AFC North game where you guys know each other as well as you do, just what is the kind of message coming into the star division play for the Baltimore?
Yeah, it's pretty much that message. I mean, the message is this is a division game. This is a rivalry game. These are two teams that know each other really well. When you go prepare for this kind of a game, you start pretty far down the road, you know, and there's a lot of shared experiences, and we've gone there. It's a tough environment to play in. It's a very different environment, and they're just a very competitive team, you know, and they've got a lot of great players, and anything can happen. I mean, I think back to Steve Smith catching that pass when we were trying to come back and going for a touchdown, that thing getting called back by an offensive pass interference, which I wanted the official who called it is one of the best in the league. I mean, I think that he knows who he is, but I still haven't forgotten the call. You know, it's like these crazy things that happen in these division games, you know, are pretty incredible, and I think we're just going to have to be at our best. That's what we'll talk to our guys about.
Joe, we saw Pierce practicing full Friday, and then you guys announced he was downgraded to doubtful. Is that something else that popped up going forward that's become a long-term concern?
No, I just think it's just kind of the way it works. You know, it's just you never can predict anything. That's why I just hate to predict what a guy's going to do or not going to do, because you just never know. It wasn't something we necessarily anticipated, but it's what happened.
Is it kind of pointless to look at the record and say, and see 2-2 and think that easily could or should be 4-0?
Yeah, it's pointless. But, yeah.
I think last year, your guys' screen game was kind of hit or miss. I know it was obviously had more of a role in Todd Monken's the screen game. Yeah. This year so far, it seems like it's been really effective. I know there's a lot of factors that go into that, but is there anything that you can specify that's helped that kind of come along?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we're executing it better. We have a better understanding of it. The timing has been better. Just across the board, we're just executing the play at a much higher level than we have ever had before. I'm excited about it. There's different types of screens in there, so some nuances here and there that guys are doing a really good job with. I'm proud of the guys. I think the coaches have done a really good job of coaching it, and it's nice to see because it's a valuable thing. It's really helping us.
All right.
Great. All right. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it.